Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Cox, and I'm the founder of Vertical Motion, where we help mid-career professionals become executives. If that's interesting to you, check out the link down below in the description of this video. You can also follow me on Instagram at TomCoxVM. Today, I'm in an amazing place with an amazing friend. Here we are in Marbella, Spain, on the Spanish Riviera. Africa is about 30 miles that way, and I'm here today with my good friend, Jeremy Pogue. Now, Jeremy and I did a video just like this 1 year ago when we were together in Aquamal, Mexico, and it was for the same reason. Jeremy has a mastermind group get together once a year. And last year we had a conversation about leadership, and we wanted to revisit that 1 year later. So with that, I'd like to welcome you to Jeremy Pogue. How are you, sir?
Tom, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
It's an absolute pleasure. As per tradition as well, we got these as well. So.
We have to do this, a tradition now.
Yeah.
This
Cheers,
is 25-year-old rum. Cheers.
Yeah, and Tom brought the exact same bottle to Mexico 12 months ago as well. So it's special, man, so.
Cheers.
As Tom said, my name is Jeremy Pogue. I help online coaches scale with ads and setters. So I have a coaching program, and everybody here, there's 29 of us. We've all been working together for a long time. Everyone's seeing massive growth in their businesses. Now we're kind of just all coming together to A, celebrate and kind of take our foot off the gas for a little bit, but B, most importantly, is come together collectively and kind of share what's been working for each other and really just dive deep into a lot of higher level concepts that not too many other people out there kind of talk about, because I know your audience absolutely resonates with this too. The higher up you go, the fewer people there are to can resonate with and learn from. I love doing stuff like this because just the caliber of the people here is incredible, and everyone's just incredible leaders and entrepreneurs and executives as well. It's such an honor and a blessing to be surrounded by people like you and everybody else here. It's very humbling. It's interesting, man, like looking back 12 months ago when we did our last video to now, and I look back at myself, it feels like I knew absolutely nothing about leadership. Seriously. And just the lessons that I've learned in the past like 12 months, but like 3 months especially, have just been incredible. And I know today, one of my topics for the mastermind was just on a lot of the leadership lessons and principles about hiring, firing, managing, leading that I've been learning, and that I've been learning from some 8 and 9 figure mentors that I've been fortunate enough to be able to learn from. It's been really cool, but also very, very cool to kind of look back at the last 12 months, and very exciting to look forward at what the next 12 months are going to be like as well from here. So it's phenomenal to be here, obviously in a place like this, but most importantly with other people that speak the same language, which is so important.
And it's been fun to watch your growth and maturation, not just in terms of, your business, which I'd like to ask you, give the audience a little bit of context on that, but also your maturity, like how you see yourself now and how others see you now versus a year ago. Maybe let's talk a little bit about the growth that you've had for the last 12 months.
Yeah, so I only started my business like not even 2 years ago. It's probably been like 20 months. I think it was like last December 2022. Since then, we've done a few million, which is crazy to say. But for the first year or so, it was like, I was basically like a one-man show. I was doing everything, running everything myself.
Very solopreneur.
Absolutely solopreneur. It was just me and like one other person who I met one time in person. And between the two of us, we scaled to a crazy amount, and then things broke. And so then just as an entrepreneur, as a leader, I had to really step into that next level of myself and really just look internally and kind of just ask myself, I was like, all right, based on kind of where I'm at right now, where I want to get to, who do I need to become in order to make that happen? And it was very clear to me that a lot of my deficiencies were in leadership or in systems and stuff like that, because before that, I was just winging it, basically, not really caring too much about all that stuff. And it was just working. So I was chilling out. It was fine until it wasn't. And I signed too many clients, and then things broke, and I had just a lot of cleaning up to do. So I'm like, okay, I don't want this to happen again. So I want to build this properly. So I just invested in a ton of mentors. Like just in the last 3 months, I've invested over 100 grand just in mentors and people that are further ahead of me that have done what I'm trying to do, to just speed up my growth curve, speed up my learning curve, and just get there faster.
I tell my audience all the time, that's us eating our own dog food, right? When we tell people like, you need to work with high level coaches who can level you up fast. We do that even at our level.
Absolutely, yeah. And especially like the faster you want to grow, the more often you should do it almost, right? And it is important that you choose the right people that have a good solid track record and have done what you're trying to do, because there's a lot of people out there kind of blowing smoke and stuff like that. I think that if you just do your due diligence diligence and do your research, then like it's worth the risk either way if it doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Right? If you get one golden nugget that just gets you a little bit closer to where you want to get to, it doesn't even really matter how much it costs. If it just buys you back a little bit of time, it's worth it every time. That's kind of been my mentality. And it's safe to say it's paid off pretty well. Yeah. And it's just like a ton of fun. One of the things I love doing is just learning and growing, just soaking in knowledge and information from everybody else, and then relating that to my own experiences and really just solidifying that knowledge. I think one thing that I also really like doing, and I'd say is like one of my strengths, is like simplifying it and teaching it to people, because there's a lot of other people that do similar things to me, but one of my principles is just simplicity and just really boiling it down to the core. And the quality of my inputs that I feed my brain determine the quality of my outputs as well. So if I'm not learning, if I'm not investing into mentors and learning from them and stuff like that, then the quality of my outputs suffer and diminish. Yeah, it's all related. But in terms of the personal growth, kind of circling back to it, has really just been leadership and systems specifically. And of course, with systems, a lot of that is related directly to leadership, because you can have incredible systems, but if nobody uses them or knows how to use them, because I haven't actually like taught them or introduced any accountability to that or led by example, then like the systems are useless. Right. It's really cool because how things look right now versus 12 months ago, it was me and one team member. Now there are 6 of us on the team here in Spain. So we've grown, like the team has tripled in size. Quality of the people on the team is just phenomenal. And every day I'm just so like blessed and honored.
But it didn't start out that way for you, right? Like when you first started to scale and become manager and a leader for a team more than just yourself and one person, there were some bumps along the way. Maybe kind of just give a little bit of context to the growth and the lessons, maybe some of the harder lessons you had to learn.
Kind of my first few hires, I was just kind of putting a butt in a seat. And it was very much so order takers instead of action takers. And I think as I've developed as a leader myself, then naturally, kind of as my orbit gets bigger, I start to attract a lot of other people into my sphere that are also more valuable as well. Because who wants to work for somebody and work with somebody who doesn't have a really awesome vision and clarity on that, but then also just like is inherently like not very valuable and is not getting more valuable as well. And that's one of the things, like one of my mentors very close with, and we live in the same town, and I've gotten the opportunity to just learn very close to him. He does well over 9 figures a year. It's really cool to see how he operates and how the team operates. One of the many things that I've learned from him is just like to get more and attract more, you have to first like become more. It really boils down to just the core fundamentals of personal development and just internal growth. And so most of what I've been consuming and studying and learning recently has just been all about leadership. So I knew nothing about hiring. I hated the thought of firing. That made me sick. I mean, it still sucks, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, I guess. One of those things. But I've also gotten better at hiring the right people and not just putting a butt in a seat and kind of taking the first few people that I get. Now I actually have a lot more people kind of to choose from, and I know what to look for. And so I can kind of prevent those mistakes happening. And as they say, like hire slow, fire fast, and really just solidify things there. So
maybe share a little bit about what you do look for in, like you do get a lot of people come to you saying, I'd like to work for you. What is your selection criteria for someone who makes it to the team?
That's a great point, because we get like 5 to 10 messages a day from people wanting to work for us, which is crazy. But one of the things I look for is, like, most importantly, is like hire for the soul and train for the role. What that means to me is like the principles and the values that this person holds have to be in alignment with mine and the company's as well, and everybody else in the team, because nobody wants to work with people who don't share similar values, because then that's when you start butting heads. That's when communication starts to kind of fall apart as well. Things don't get done, like standards start to fall as well. Things don't get done as congruent and as like systematic as they otherwise would if everybody was in alignment with each other, right? There's a lot of room for error, and it's just not as fulfilling and enjoyable, to be honest. So, and I've made this mistake before. I wasn't clear on my own principles and values. Right. I didn't really have any criteria to choose from. But then once I did just kind of sit down and take some time over a couple months, to be honest, it helped me clarify exactly who I am and how I want to run my business, who I'm looking for, and what kind of person I need around me on the team in order to achieve the vision and the mission that we have as a business, as an entrepreneur.
And that's so important that you hire for the personality, then train the skill if need be, sometimes you get people that are batteries included and they're highly skilled and they're a perfect culture fit, but you would bias towards the culture fit more so than the technical skill fit. You've really done a great job in embodying that. And I'll tell you, like the team, your entire team here, they all are as driven and focused on success as you are. It really shows up in this team, maybe not in previous versions of your teams, but this one, you got it right. And it's incredible to see everyone from the lowest to the highest positions, they're all completely bought into the vision, the mission, the whole energy and ethos of the team. And the other thing that I see is you have incredible communication hygiene with your team. And this is something that I find that a lot of leaders lack, is they just assume that their team is doing great. Like today, you gave a whole masterclass on communication hygiene with employees, and it was incredible. And I took a ton of notes myself from that. But like how often you communicate, the ways you communicate, how you hold people accountable, and so forth.
Yeah, and like you said, it didn't always start like this at all. You do get lucky sometimes. They come batteries included, and they fit the principles and values, and that's best of both worlds. That's perfect. But also, I've made the mistake before of just kind of like assuming that they knew what they were doing and just kind of letting them be like, hey, do your thing, and kind of just being hands off and just hiring just to like kind of not have to deal with the thing anymore, task or like the whatever. That leaves them not really knowing what to do, and then me just kind of like not really seeing the results, and I have to like step in. I'm paying them, but then doing their job for them, and like it's not working. So in terms of like communication hygiene, that's a very elegant way to put it. I think I called it KPI or die.
KPI or die.
But anyways, the way I see that is like before, some mistakes I made in the past is hiring and not making it clear what the expectations are from the start, and not setting clear KPIs and targets and numbers, and making the person responsible for the growth of their specific department or role. Whereas before, I would just kind of put a butt in the seat and then we would just coast. Whereas now I'm like, hey, you are responsible for this number, and this number. We will review it every week to make sure we're on track to hit our monthly and quarterly goals so we can achieve our yearly and beyond that goals as well. As a result, it gives us something to push for and to grow. Like it gives us a reason and a motivation to get up and do better and be more driven and read books on the thing on how to improve it, and invest in other programs or courses, or some like just pay someone $5,000 for an hour of their time to be like, hey, we have this problem, how do we fix it? And then they're like, oh, you literally just do this. And we're like, cool. If we didn't have like those goals pulling us forward, then like we wouldn't do that. We'd kind of just be coasting and stay stuck. And that's where I see a lot of people kind of just grind to a halt. With that, we review the numbers weekly, like I said. But one thing that's very important that I do is, I guess you can call it like servant leadership, where I'm like, what can I do to make your life and your job easier? How can I help facilitate that you achieve your targets and your goals and your KPIs? You tell me. So for example, like my appointment setter, who is in charge of booking sales calls for my sales rep, it's his job to put calls in the calendar. But I'm like, hey, you're responsible for the lead flow and the lead gen of the business. Yes, because he talks to people, and I guess in a more corporate role, it'd be like an SDR, like a sales development rep. Anyways, I'm like, hey, you're responsible for the leads that we're getting. You have to, I'm not in the trenches, I'm not in the weeds. I don't know who you're talking to every day. I don't know the quality and the volume. It's on, you have to communicate that to me. Tell me what's right or what's wrong, and we'll do more of what's right. Or if something isn't quite matching up, please let me know and I'll fix it, because I want to empower you with everything you need to crush it.
And he has a strong sense of ownership for that responsibility.
That's right. And there's a concept that I haven't talked about yet to anybody, anywhere, and I call it octopus leadership. A couple months ago, I was at a mastermind with one of my 9-figure entrepreneurs. It was 2 days and it was 5 figures, right? And in that 2 days, I grew so much just mentally, and the connections I made were incredible. My mentor, he kind of knew me and my business pretty well. And I remember he was up talking about leadership and teams and KPIs and stuff like that. There's 20 of us in the room. I remember he looked directly at me right in the eyes as he was saying this. And what he said was, if all roads lead back to the founder, if the founder is responsible for the marketing, the sales, the fulfillment, the operations, the finances, the business will not grow. And he looked me dead in the eyes as he said that, because we've been working together for a while for that. And he knew that that was me, because I didn't make anybody accountable and nobody had ownership for their specific roles, because it was just a deficiency due to a lack of experience.
Right.
that one just like hit me in the stomach. And so like I call it octopus leadership because it's like there's like 8 tentacles in every component of the business, and it all leads back to me as the source. But if I'm the source and I'm responsible for all these things, A, my attention's pulled in 8 different directions or however many. But then B, with the law of the lid, which I've learned from you, it's like the business will only grow to my capacity and my limits, right? But then if I hire other people around me that are exceptional and better at their thing than I am, then a rising tide lifts all boats. And so not all roads lead back to me anymore, but then other people that are better and enjoy their job more than I enjoy doing their job, they're going to take ownership of it, especially when they have accountable KPIs, and they're gonna drive that growth. And if they don't, then we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's wrap it up here and say, if you could give one piece of advice to aspiring leaders out there, whether they're corporate or solopreneurs or founders, based on what you've learned over the last 12 months, what's one piece of advice that you'd love for the audience to take away?
Never stop learning. When I grew to about 1 to 2 million a year, I got kind of complacent because I was like, oh, I got it. Like I'm chilling, cash flow business, high margins, low expenses. And I was like, I'm good. But then I also stopped kind of learning. I didn't invest in any mentors for at least 12 months. And I kind of stopped reading a little bit, stopped taking courses. And as a result, the business grinded to a halt. Then one day I just kind of like woke up and I was like, what am I doing? Since then, I've just been kind of like, just trying to learn as much as I can, go into workshops, investing in programs and mentors, and just trying to soak it all in as much as I can. Because in the last 3 months, I've learned more about leadership than I have in the last almost 27 years. Like, it's been insane. Has it cost a lot of money? Yes. But that investment, no matter how much I've invested, it will be worth like 1,000 times more over the rest of my life. Because one thing with knowledge is nobody can take it away from you. If I didn't learn any of this stuff, then I would still be trying to figure it out. I wouldn't have been here teaching 28 other people today all the stuff that I've learned about leadership, and then having them come up to me like, man, that was incredible. I wouldn't have been able to do that. Sure as hell wouldn't be able to attract and keep the team that I have right now as well. Because if I'm not growing, then they're like, if they're growth-oriented people, which they should be, those are the only kind of people you want on the team, they're not going to want to stick around a leader who's not growth-oriented as well. So that's one huge thing. And I kick myself a lot for kind of just like not really doing much of it for like 6 to 12 months last year. And then the other one kind of on a more tactical level too is just communication is just so important, and just confront things before they become problems. Be very clear with your expectations, get everything in writing, and just show up every single day, do your best, and try to just get a little bit better each day. Serve your team, give them what they need to excel, and surround yourself with incredible people and have a lot of fun trying to build great things.
It really is that simple. It's all about having this presence that you have that attracts the right people, about having a servant leader mindset of seeing yourself as not in charge of your team, but taking care of those in your charge, and constant continuous growth and learning. Learning is a contact sport, and it goes on forever. Even the greatest leaders in the world read leadership books, as they come out. So Jeremy, I want to thank you. Thank you for bringing us to Marbella, Spain. Thank you for coming back on the channel to have this conversation. I want to also say thank you. You're one of my youngest friends, but you're one of the oldest souls that I've ever met. And I have really enjoyed watching your growth and success, and have learned a ton from you myself. And I've grown because of our friendship. So thank you, sir.
And I can say the exact same thing too, because every time we talk, I just try and shut up because I just learned so much from you, all of your experience, and just everything that's up here, but also in here, more importantly as well. I respect that a lot and appreciate it a lot, Tom. So thank you so much for having me back in the channel. It's always a pleasure, and yeah, it's been a blast.
Yep. So if you want to learn more about leadership, definitely check out our content. But if you want to learn more about Jeremy, where can they find you online?
YouTube, Instagram, Jeremy_Pogue. Those are the main ones.
Well, Jeremy, thanks so much. Look forward to doing this in 1 year in someplace even crazier than this.
It's going to be hard to top, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But I think we can do it.